The Special Air Service began life in July 1941, the brainchild of Lieutenant David Stirling. His idea was for small teams of parachute-trained soldiers to operate behind enemy lines to gain intelligence, destroy enemy aircraft and attack their supply and reinforcement routes. The SAS carried out this role until May 1945, serving in a number of theatres and campaigns, suffering just 330 casualties, yet eliminating or wounding almost 8,000 and capturing 23,000 of their enemies. Immediately after the war, the SAS was disbanded. However, the continued necessity for a commando unit was recognised and they were reformed again in 1947. In 1950, an SAS squadron trained to be deployed in the Korean War were transferred to Southeast Asia instead to serve in the ongoing Malayan emergency. In 1952, Operation Hellsbeat launched a series of deep penetration operations in Malaya which paved the way for fighting counterinsurgencies. In 1958, two SAS squadrons were deployed to Oman to put down a rebellion. They carried out a successful assault on a large guerrilla force on the Sabrina Plateau, providing some stabilisation to the British Protectorate for another 15 years. Throughout the 1960s, the SAS were deployed to both Aden and Indonesia. In 1963, the SAS was sent in to assist in the Aden emergency, which was an armed rebellion during the Cold War against the Federation of South Arabia, a protectorate of the United Kingdom, which now forms part of the Yemen. The SAS were present during the conflict searching for Yemeni-trained assassins. Simultaneously, the SAS were also known to have been present at the Indonesian confrontation in 1964, most notably for Operation Claret, which asked the SAS to perform a series of high-risk cross-border patrols into Indonesia. In 1972, the SAS's first famous engagement occurs in Oman. The Battle of Mirbat is ingrained in SAS history and folklore, as 9 troopers resisted an assault from over 400 rebels. On the 5th of May 1980, the SAS exploded into the public eye during Operation Nimrod. Iranian terrorists stormed the Iranian embassy in London, taking 26 hostages. On the 6th and final day, the SAS stormed the building, both via helicopter on the roof and abseiling into the front windows, rescuing all but one of the hostages and eliminating 5 of the 6 terrorists. In 1982, the SAS were highly active in the Falklands War, carrying out numerous reconnaissance missions and diversionary raids. They helped successfully recapture the island of South Georgia, destroyed the remaining Exocet missiles in Argentinian possession, and seized and held Mount Kent, the vital high ground against repeated Argentine assaults, for 3 days. Ongoing in the background to the Falklands was the Northern Ireland conflict with the IRA. The conflict was primarily political and nationalistic. On the 8th of May 1987, 8 IRA members attacked an RUC station in County Armagh. All were killed by the SAS, the most IRA members killed in a single incident in the Troubles. In March 1988, whilst on Operation Flavius, 3 IRA volunteers who were planning a bombing were shot by the SAS in Gibraltar. In January 1991, Operation Granby saw the SAS deployed to the Persian Gulf. The SAS adopted its classic deep penetration role behind enemy lines, being deployed in numerous reconnaissance missions and raids on Scud launchers and communications sites, which also led to the fated Bravo 20 patrol. They also acted as observers for coalition artillery and aircraft. In 1992, the SAS were covertly operating in the Balkans under a NATO task force originally to map borders to generate a peace agreement codenamed Operation Joint Endeavour. After the conflict, in conjunction with SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force, the SAS pursued people indicted for war crimes, with the most arrests of any Tier 1 unit. In May 2000, Operation Palliser saw the SAS deployed to Sierra Leone, where the infamous Operation Barras took place in September, a joint SAS-SPS rescue of 6 captured members of the Royal Irish Regiment from violent rebels. Following 9/11, the SAS were deployed to Afghanistan as part of Operation Enduring Freedom, where, like Delta Force and Dev Group, they were mostly involved in reconnaissance behind enemy lines, kill or capture missions, and hostage rescue, such as Operation Moshtarak, Jubilee, and Torol. This continued into Iraq from 2003. The SAS were deployed before the coalition invasion to attack suspected WND locations and take key airfields to stop the Iraqi army from launching air assets. They captured al-Takriti in June 2003, Saddam's secretary. They then operated alongside their American counterparts in Task Force Black. They have been present in both Afghanistan and Iraq following the formal withdrawals. What is less well known, but formed the basis of SAS operations for the next 20 years, was to combat the insurgency which had splintered across African nations. They shared duties across the vast region with the SBS and ESRR. As early as 2004, the SAS were deployed to Djibouti as part of Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa to conduct operations against Islamic terrorists and surveilling Britons believed to be travelling to Somalia for terrorist training, whilst working with US counterparts observing and targeting local terror suspects. In 2011, following military intervention in Libya, E Squadron were to make contact with the Libyan rebel and opposition leaders. However, the mission was a failure after the team was captured and held prisoner for 72 hours by Libyan rebels. The Syrian civil war developed after the country's Arab Spring protests in March 2011. It's reported that teams from the SAS were operating out of Jordan, slipping into Syria on missions. They have been operating mostly dressed as insurgents, conducting covert patrols, but also have been known to dress as women to infiltrate checkpoints, working with the Syrian rebels and Kurds. The SAS have been deployed to Kenya on a permanent training rotation since at least 2010, where they have carried out numerous hostage rescue and counter-terrorist operations primarily against Al-Shabaab, including the famous hotel siege by Christian Craighead in 2019. In 2016, the SAS were tasked from their station in Cyprus to lead a Royal Marine task force in counter-trafficking operations, whilst also serving as a quick reaction force against any terror attacks against Britons around the Mediterranean. In 2021, a small team of SAS men were deployed to Eastern Europe in an apparent intelligence gathering, weapons training and organising sabotage mission across the Donetsk region, where they initially reported ceasefire violations. Please like and subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.